All right, Nutrition Heroes. Welcome to another Nutrition Hero podcast. I'm Dr. Brad Watts, and today the episode is being sponsored by HappyHealthyThin.com and one of the gentlemen in charge of that website. His name is Dr. Randy Johns. Welcome, Dr. Johns.
Thank you very much for having me, Dr. Brad. I appreciate it, man. I'm so geeked about today's episode.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I appreciate it. I know you got a lot of stuff rolling, which I'm going to ask you all about. But I do appreciate you spending attention with us. So thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
I got to ask, I want to start with your story. I heard a little bit about your story from some of your colleagues. And then I asked you some questions about your story, and I'm still interested. So I'm excited for everybody to hear about this. But what was the genesis of HappyHealthyThin.com? Like, where did that come from, and why nutrition? So whatever you want to get into, I would love to discuss.
Yeah, so I wish there was a really quick, short answer to that, but I'm going to have to maybe take us back and walk us through it. So just so everybody knows, I'm a chiropractor, graduated 15 years ago from Parker in Dallas. And I was fired up, ready to change the world like a lot of you were. And I just had no idea what it meant to run a business or how to save money or how to invest money or really what I was going to do, but I just wanted to help people. So I go back home and I go into every bank, and literally every bank laughed me out of the bank with my business plan. And it was like this thick. I mean, I had done a heck of a job, slid it across the desk, and they're like, "That's really cute, Doc." So I'm just completely defeated, not knowing what I'm going to do. And my parents, how do you succeed in life? It's when your parents put up their home to secure a homestead loan for me for $35,000. And if I didn't succeed, they were going to lose their home. So I got really committed at working really hard and doing whatever it took.
No pressure.
Yeah. So I just wanted to start with that. So thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you for believing in me, and because definitely no bank did, and now they all want my money. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Funny how that works.
I know, right? And so I guess to getting to the question is, I just immersed myself into this chiropractic world, and I ran a really large practice. I was a high volume guy, seeing well over 1,000 patient visits per week, just doing everything I could to help people. But unfortunately, Dr. Brad, I wasn't able to help myself, because you're no good to anybody else if you don't take great care of you. And so,
right.
Right.
If you're listening to that right there, write that down. Write that down.
Well, most of you guys are a lot smarter than me. You figured this out way before almost dying, like I'm about to reveal. I had to almost die to figure this out. So I'm in this world where I'm no longer adapting anymore, chemically, physically, emotionally. I'm not taking care of myself. And so I ended up with a late stage cancer diagnosis. And it was started on my back, and it began to spread, and it went into my lymphatic chain, down into my liver, and into my stomach. And so that was a pretty devastating diagnosis. They gave me about 2 months to 2 years to live. And of course, you can imagine what they offered me for support. It was going to be, chemotherapy and radiation. So I knew, and this is what chiropractic taught me, and it really if we can take anything from chiropractic, is that, man, I knew that my body was doing the right thing under the circumstances. Because cancer really doesn't exist, right? It's a symptom of a lot bigger problem where your body's no longer adapting. So I knew if I could create an environment where my body could begin to heal, repair, and adapt again, I knew the cancer could go away. So that was really my journey. So I left the country out of here. I go straight to Spain. There was a medical doctor there that I had heard about, and I met up with him, and he did a lot of testing and treatments that I was completely congruent with, because it was going to work with my unique body. And I didn't want to treat the symptom of cancer. I wanted to get to the cause. And he knew that you've got to have the matter, just like chiropractic brings the force. And when those two unite and you create this new environment, the body, as we know, can heal from anything when given the opportunity. So upon testing, my liver was completely congested. My adrenals were shut down, perforated gut, eaten up with parasites. I was into autoimmune, Dr. Brad, where my white blood cells were like Pac-Man, gobbling up all of my red blood cells. So I'm completely out of balance, liver congestion, all these issues. And what would chemo have done to address any of those causes?
None, nothing.
In fact, it would have made my environment worse.
Right.
So the likelihood, even if I survived, it comes back. I wasn't interested in surviving, thriving through this experience, going on a journey to come back and make a difference and be better. So 2 months in Spain. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I'm just saying, wow. 2 months in Spain.
2 months, and then there's no trace of cancer anywhere. I come back and I did an MRI of my brain, CT of my chest cavity, 0 traces if I never had cancer. So pretty miraculous. And there's nothing medically they could do for me, yet the treatments they used over there were life-changing. And when I went through these treatments, I'm like, I've got to figure out a way to introduce these type strategies into my clinic in America, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do with that. And I definitely didn't want to be, treat cancer. And of course, legally, that wouldn't be an option anyway. So we have to really tread lightly when we start working with people and diagnosing and treating conditions. And, it just wasn't what I was going to do. So 2 months later, no trace of cancer. I get back and I'm like, I've got to re-enter life differently. And so I'm like, let me back up. So 2 years later, when I get back, my baby brother, Ryan, he's 27 years old, guys, and he dies of a massive heart attack. Struggled with his weight his whole life. He had to be perfect to get this little bitty result. I've never had a weight problem. My brother Russell never had a weight problem. So Ryan dies, clinically obese. And I'm like, I've got to figure out a way to help people like Ryan. So what I went through to overcome cancer and the testing and the strategies I used, I wanted to implement it into a weight loss strategy that focused on real metabolically active foods and things that I did in Spain to not only overcome cancer, but really get the body to heal and adapt to its environment again. So it's never about treating anything. It's always about addressing the cause, supporting the body. We know that the best doctor, it is inside. It is the one on the inside. And if you can work with that doctor, you can really overcome anything. So that's how I got to weight loss, how Happy Healthy Thin was born, and how nutrition and the strategies I'm using with our SCT oil, all that was born out of cancer, me running my life into the ground into practice in this brick and mortar clinic, and no longer being able to do what I wanted to do because I lost my health.
My goodness. So how long was this? Like how many years ago?
Yeah, so this is about 7.5 years ago that this all went down. And I had to leave my practice and take off to Spain. And I didn't know if I was going to really come back. So I was prepared to die out there, but I was also prepared to do whatever it took. I wasn't going to dabble or think about it or just sit on a few Atlas adjustments. I'm like, I'm getting out of here. There's limitations of matter. We're going to go figure this out. And I knew if I didn't die, I would come back and I would be a dangerous person, because now I'm going to be equipped with a story, a testimony, a real life experience, and more knowledge that I can impact and help thousands more people. So God's not done with me. I'm not dead. And so now game on, baby. Game on.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Your energy levels as you're telling your story, I think that's probably the dangerous part. So that's good. So anyway, tell me about Happy Healthy Thin, and what's the story with Happy Healthy Thin? What's the wind in the sail, so to speak? What's going on there?
Yeah, so the Happy Healthy Thin, we just talked about kind of how I got there. I brought back some testing that I was using in Spain and some nutritional strategies that I used and worked with that doctor to overcome the cancer. So with the Happy Healthy Thin system, I went back home. I'm from Texarkana, Texas, by the way, northeast corner of Texas, a little small town. So I went back as I'm an approved concept here and work out all the bugs, all the kinks, and really get this dialed in. So that's what I did. And then I started approaching other major markets like Dallas, where we're located. We're in Sacramento, California. We're looking at Denver, Seattle, and some other major markets. But it's all about it's a method called the Thin method that I developed. And it's literally an acronym, Dr. Brad. So T stands for testing and technology. We use a lot of bioresonance testing and some other things that I use to identify biomarkers in the human body that influence your metabolism. And it will read your mail. It's very accurate, and it makes me look very, very smart. because once we run these tests, that and a pair of glasses goes a long way with me.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
My IQ jumps about 30, 40 points. So we use this testing, we get the blueprints, and then what we'll do is we'll create these natural formulas that our patients can take that's built and based off the testing. So everything is individualized. So you've got T for testing and technology. You've got H for hormone balancing. And that's very key. And a lot of you guys listening, you specialize in helping patients balance their hormones and how critical that is. And not just sex hormones. Man, there's a whole cascade of hormones: adrenaline, cortisol, leptin, glucagon. Man, it's all this stuff, and they all work together. Mm-hmm. So we're able to balance patients' hormones, which will influence their metabolism. The I stands for internal cleansing. So we need to cleanse and detox the body, not force detox, but work with the body's detox systems, especially as I get patients burning body fat. We know the body can dump and it can eliminate. And so this helps figure that out naturally to help protect the patient and get the best result. And then the N stands for nutritional intelligence. And nutritional intelligence is a strategy I've been using in Spain, where you get your body into a metabolically active feeding window with the metabolically specific foods, and you turn your body into a fat burner versus a sugar burner, which I'm fascinated and obsessed with helping patients burn fat versus sugar from an inflammatory place in the prevention of chronic inflammatory disease, and how amazing life can change nutritionally when we get them off glucose dependency, which for me was huge because before cancer, I always talk about my life before cancer, right? BC, right? Yep. And then AC after cancer. And so before cancer, I'm eating 6-7 times a day. You know, I'm working out 7 days a week. I'm crushing protein, right?
Right.
Just 100 grams of protein, just bulking myself. And so we know, man, that's a way to die very soon, because you're just in this growth mode of living in dependency on insulin. So I moved my metabolism over to no longer dependent on insulin, but now balancing these hormones and burning fat for energy. So the Thin method individualizes plans for patients to get their body to improve their metabolism, reduce their inflammation. They lose a ton of weight, which is great, but it's more about getting them healthy, because we know healthy people don't have a weight problem.
Exactly. I think that's really important for doctors and providers of literally any area in healthcare to hear, because they're beat over the head every day with like, hey, you got to lose weight, got to lose 10 pounds. You probably get off these meds if you lost 25 pounds. Right. And it's not about the weight. The weight's the result. And so if I hear you correctly, that hormone balance into the nutritional intelligence, what's that transition like for patients when they go from, like, how long does it take for that to click where they go, oh, I get it?
Well, I think the way we get it to click really quickly is not only in our educational systems with the patient, but it's the result that we get. I can move a patient from burning sugar to burning fat in less than an hour, and I can keep them there for a full 5 weeks. So when you do that, the transition from burning sugar to burning fat, there's a method that's involved that eases that transition, because for a lot of patients, it can be brutal to shift that over, or very challenging, or even if you get them there, it's hard to keep them in fat burning without this really rigorous ketogenic diet, which, to be quite honest, is hard to stick with. It's a real challenge. So this is beyond ketogenic diet. This is about getting really specific and using testing and technology and customization to get them into fat burning, to keep them there, and to help them transition so we can really get that result, get them healthier. They're going to come off medications, right? Their blood pressure is going to normalize. Their blood sugar is going to balance. And most people coming to see us, Dr. Brad, they are diabetics, right? They're chronically ill. They're on massive doses of medication. So they're really sick people, and we can still get that incredible result with the Thin technology.
Very cool. So where does SCT oil, because you mentioned that you like planted it and then walked away from it. I'm going to bring you back to it.
All right.
What's SCT oil? How do you use it? And what's the purpose?
Yeah, no, this is a great question. So a lot of you listening may be wondering, like, what the heck is SCT oil? And if you go Google it, you're only going to find one place you're going to find it, because it didn't exist until just a few months ago. But we all know about medium chain triglycerides and the benefits we can help patients with supporting the liver, helping them produce ketones, and helping them really get some fats into their system, because they have a fat malabsorption problem. So you think about people who have no gallbladder, a congested liver, they've had their gallbladder removed, they've got gut dysbiosis, their microbiota is a train wreck. They're not even absorbing what we're giving them from a supplement place or from a nutritional strategy. We know we have to get the gut right. And so these short chain fats work beautifully because they're shorter chain triglycerides. So the medium chains are your C6s, your C8s, your C10, and your C12. And we're talking about that carbon backbone chain. Mm-hmm. When I'm talking about a short chain triglyceride, we're talking about C4, C3s, and C2s. These are the shortest chains. I know, right? So we're talking about butyric acid, C4, propionate, C3, and acetate in a C2. Well, if you don't know, which you probably do, and I'm sure your audience knows the benefits, because you guys are all a lot smarter than me. I'll just put that out there. But the butyric acid, guys, is the preferred source of fuel for the colon. It's like the anti-inflammatory fat and how it influences our immune systems. And we know that a faulty immune system, we've got all these autoimmune patients, like I was sick with autoimmune and developing cancer. They're deficient in these short chain fats because these fats regulate T cells. So we know an autoimmune can't be regulated. You're attacking healthy tissue and you should not be. So in Spain, I was using strategically short chain fats and short chain fatty acids through my diet to help mitigate a lot of the inflammatory problems that I suffered with that was contributing to my cancer. And when I came back from Spain, I'm like, we got to just start using this product in our protocols. Right. You know, there wasn't a product. There was no short chain triglyceride oil. Plus, with a lot of MCT, and I was experiencing this. Man, I would get really bowel problems, right, diarrhea, nausea from medium chain triglyceride oil. Because for a lot of patients, it requires pancreatic activity, some source of bile, even C8, which is that caprylic acid. It can still cause these problems. You just got to get into the shorter chains. I've gone up to 6 to 8 tablespoons per day with SCT oil with no bowel or gastrointestinal distress. So I think it's very significant.
That's kind of amazing to think about, because even from like a physics perspective, I would challenge anybody to go take 2 tablespoons of MCT oil right now. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to feel it.
Yeah, and it's not harmless, man. When you aggravate that endothelial lining, you're allowing potential sepsis to happen, where you're allowing things to perforate back across the gut lining. So it's not like it's a harmless problem.
Well, exactly. So these C4 chains, though, your gut, it's the preferred fuel source, as you mentioned. Yeah. That has to be created. And why is it not being created through like a traditional sense? Why supplement with it? Why is it not being created?
No, that's the question. So, because our body can make C4 by fermenting carbohydrate in the colon. But here's the problem. How many of your patients and my patients have good gut health, who have almost good microbiomes? None of them. I would say it's 99%, none of them. So they can't ferment and create this. That's how important it is to your body. Your body needs to make it. So the fastest way to turn this around is to externally supplement a short chain triglyceride oil. We've even experimented with doing it in enemas, guys, directly into the colon for absorption. Awesome. 15-minute hold. I mean, you're restoring health and turning gut problems around. We're seeing huge things with autoimmune, with patients who have Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, IBS. These guys can't ferment fiber. Their gut biome's a wreck, and you can dramatically help these patients very quickly by supplementing the short chain triglyceride oil.
And I think this is going to become, it's apparent right now, obviously, but I think it's going to become even more and more prevalent and apparent in your patient base as there's more and more research that gets put out about how important fiber is and all this kind of stuff. But not if you can't ferment it.
It's
you know
not
what I mean?
the fiber. It's the fermentation. Right. That's the benefit. And you know, when you give these patients more fiber, you wreck their gut. They hate you. Right. They're not happy with you. You know, you can't even give them fibrous vegetables half the time because they get so much bloating and fluid retention, right? So this is a big deal. And then you're talking about with patients who've got all these conditions, their liver is a wreck. They've got a congested liver or they don't have a gallbladder. So the SET oil goes right into the liver through the portal vein and requires instant ketone activity and energy. So that C3, that propionate, it's interesting because propionate triggers the body to prefer visceral fat for energy. So think about how many patients have a fatty liver, and now you're triggering visceral fat metabolism. And that's almost impossible to do because you can help patients lose weight, and sometimes their visceral fat, it won't even change. And skinny people can have high visceral fat, you know?
Right.
And then the C2 chain, the acetate, it triggers leptin signaling to the brain to now get the body to start preferring fat for energy versus sugar. And we know all the benefits to optimizing leptin, how that influences every hormone in the body. So I think there's a real advantage here with supplementing these short chain fats to kind of tip back into balance, where most people are out of balance with long chain fats, are struggling with medium chain. This could be a lifesaver, especially people who are malabsorbing fat. They're deficient in vitamins A, D, E, and K. What's the repercussions to somebody deficient in these fat-soluble vitamins, man? They're never going to get well.
No, they're never going to get well. But then not only that, the decline that happens when you start talking about the neurologic manifestation of not having fat-soluble vitamins is pretty intense as well. So, yeah. Man, that is awesome. So, first of all, can you believe that you had to be the one to introduce it to the marketplace?
No, we were just talking earlier, right? Like how sctoil.com was not already bought.
Right.
The oil didn't exist. It's impossible.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. So, and then secondly, how many more things that you experienced while you're in Europe are like still in the hopper to be released into the United States? Do you know what I'm saying? Like from a technology perspective or from an education perspective?
Yeah, it's a shame that I had to leave the country and at the time didn't have access to a lot of these strategies. So even like one of the strategies that I used in Spain was hyperthermia. It was oncological hyperthermia, where they would heat me up at really high temperature, because we know the body that healthy cells do fine under high heat. It's the abnormal cells that can't adapt. That's what I love about our body. Healthy cells are genetically dominant. Abnormal cells, they are recessive. They're just not that smart and they don't adapt well, including cancer. Plus at those high temperatures, your body's kicking out interferon and it gets very efficient at repairing itself, which for me it was all about getting into repair, Dr. Brad, and getting out of growth. I was always in a growth state with insulin and protein and food and working out. You shouldn't be growing past age 18. You want to shift into repair, which is where I keep my body. And so the hyperthermia will also trigger autophagy in the body. Now, autophagy, if you're not familiar, which I'm sure you are, is one of the most advanced healing states that you can put your body in, because your body gets solely focused on repairing itself. It's self-eating, the autophagy, right?
Yeah. So
you're eating up dysfunctional cellular parts. You're using pathogenic bacteria and all these diseased parts to fuel your mitochondria. So you're cleaning shop, you're getting more efficient, and your body gets into this place of healing. So when you're in that spot, disease does not do well. It does not survive. Cancer's in big trouble. Pathogenic bacteria are in big trouble. So those hyperthermic solutions were helping me. On top of that, our empty jar of SCT oil. This is not good, by the way. You never want it to be empty. But SCT, the short chain fats, will trigger autophagy in the body without even going into a fasted state. So you can't even find hyperthermia in America.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, first of all, you're not going to see that anywhere. And second of all, what are we talking about as far as temperatures, whether it be a body temperature or what are you sitting in order to improve that?
Yeah, so it was when they would slap it over my chest to localize where the cancer was,
Yeah.
or they put it over my brain, or there's whole body situation. But you're talking about getting internal temps up over 110 degrees. And of
Wow.
course, we've been scared like, well, high heat kills the brain. No, it does not kill the brain. The body has a regulatory mechanism. These are high heat temperatures where pathogenic disease can't survive. In fact, the doctor that I worked with exclusively for those months out there, he had bought a clinic in Naples to bring oncological hyperthermia into the States. Well, guess what happened at the 11th hour? The FDA comes in and says, you can't do it. So he's trying to sell me a 10,000 square foot facility in Naples. And I'm like, that's right from you, but number one, that's not going to be cheap.
Right.
What would I do with it? Right.
Right. If they're not going to let him do it, they're certainly not going to let you.
But that's how powerful and corrupt it can be to keep people from these strategies. They should be commonplace. There should be options. And the only ethical way to deliver healthcare is with informed consent. And in America, we really don't get that informed consent because we're basically told what to do and how to think. And if you think outside that model, it is frowned upon. And we know medically it's frowned upon. Doctors get in big trouble every day.
Wow. So if you're just tuning in, we're listening to Dr. Randy Johns here, interviewing, asking questions because I'm genuinely interested in your story. Today's podcast episode is being sponsored by his website here, happyhealthythin.com. And we just got done talking about SCT oil. And so I have a couple of more questions about SCT oil, if it's all right, if you're open to that.
Yeah, go for it.
Next question would be, let's say I'm the keto guy, right? And every patient I see and treat has to get put on some level of ketogenesis programming. How is this an easy transition? Is this an easy add to the practice? What is that like?
Yeah, so no, that's a phenomenal question because you want to get them into ketosis as quickly as possible, but you also want to keep them there. And that really is a challenge on both fronts, right? Coming in and out of it and following an exact ketogenic diet can be very challenging for a lot of patients. So what we have found in my own personal experience is these short chain triglycerides are superior into getting patients into ketosis over a medium chain triglyceride, just by the sheer nature of them being shorter in chain and the way they absorb a lot more efficiently. And medium chains can be great, but they're not as well absorbed as a short chain, especially if, and I'm sure you guys and your group's using really high quality MCT that's probably more C8 based, maybe some C10, but a lot of medium chains are chock full of lauric acid, a C12, and that's really more of a long chain fatty acid. And it doesn't provide the ketone activity in the absorption that these shorter chains provide. So for a lot of our clinicians that are reaching out to us and chiropractors, they're clinically introducing them in to help their patients get into ketosis and help keep them there. And we're seeing that it's a lot easier to do. And I know for me personally, I break my fast every day with short chain triglyceride oil. So I'll stay in a pretty, about a 16 to 18 hour fasted state every day. So I break my fast around 12 to 3 o'clock. And I'll always do a tablespoon of SCT oil, maybe 4 or 5 drops of essential lemon oil. So I'm just really alkalizing my body. Our SCT oil burns alkaline, so you can heat it up to 500 degrees, which is pretty essential. So I really like breaking a fast with the good, healthy oil to help keep my body primed to want to burn fat versus going back into sugar burning, which I stay away from. I don't do that. It's too important for my health history and all the benefits I get from burning fat versus sugar.
Right. Well, 100%, especially when you look at, even today, just connecting with a few patients that I look after and talk about sugar burning, you see people that are in that space for 25, 35, 40 years and what it does to their health. It's just, it's more than deleterious. It's like insidious. It's crazy.
Oh, it's suicide, man. It's just you're daily killing yourself, all that insulin dependency. So when you start burning fat and you can elicit that with a short chain, glucose uptake is going to be improved. You're going to get better insulin sensitivity. And all those things are triggered by optimizing that hormone cascade, moving into autophagy. taking stress off the liver, have a readily used source of energy. It can be the difference for our diabetic patients, our autoimmune patients, our patients with brain fog that are just arthritic. When you're arthritic, life is miserable. And who in their right mind would want to age and be this degenerated arthritic person on 8 medications?
Right.
And that's a lot of people that are finally coming to see us after they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and been to all the best doctors.
Right.
And then we take them and go, wait a second, the best doctors in you, we're going to start working with your body instead of actually poisoning your body. So when you can begin to introduce these strategies, man, life gets fun quickly. In fact, there's a component we are finding in our SCT oil called CMO. Are you familiar with CMO, Dr. Brad?
No.
I'm going to try to pronounce it correctly, but it's mysterolaic acid. And so CMO, what it does, it acts like fish oil on the body, the way it protects the body from inflammation. We know the benefits of fish oil, but a lot of patients who have bad digestion, they can absorb the fish oil, right? And it's easily oxidized. So this CMO we're finding with anti-inflammation benefits, it has a second life to it. So it lasts longer than the benefits you have to continually dose with fish oil, which for patients who aren't even absorbing it, they're feeling worse. And we're like, we know it works. We know the research, we got the science, but what about the person in front of you, right? So we're seeing some real powerful anti-stiffness factor, almost similar to like a Wolzen factor that Danish researcher discovered, where it's an anti-stiffness phenomenon that's taking place in your body. So people's joints, their mental clarity, their muscle fatigue, they're holding adjustments better. I think there's so many benefits to burning fat versus sugar, specifically supporting it with the SCT.
So specifically, when you even talk about stiffness, the joint stiffness and that type of thing that you see as that type of a phenomena, but take it down into the cellular level. We're talking about the stiffness of the cell wall structure is really where that starts. There's no stiffness in the joints until the cell wall has become, less flexible or pliable.
Right, cellular congestion.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say, and that's what you had mentioned right when we first started was that congestion factor. So that's amazing, just to bring it back to that. So
that's huge right there, Doc. Yeah. Because all health starts at a cellular level, right?
Right.
So I think for repairing the cell and getting things into the cell, right? Because it's not what you swallow. It's what you absorb, and then what's bioavailable. These are two different factors as well. Okay, you got it to your bloodstream. Can we move it into the tissue cell?
Right.
So guess what crosses the cell membrane the easiest? Short chain fats. It's a carrier. So that's why I take my lemon oil with my SCT to drive it deep into the tissue to get that max benefit. So I think it can work along with any and all protocols, improving them, getting better clinical outcomes. And by the way, it's not a horrible thing that it tastes amazing. Never bad, right?
So how do I find this on the internet?
Yeah, so we've got a website. It's sctoil.com, short chain triglyceride, sctoil.com. If any docs have any inquiries or want to place wholesale orders or ask about our affiliate program that they can add to their storefront, and we'll just do all the work and pay out the commissions, you can go to or email at sctoilinfo@gmail.com. So sctoilinfo@gmail.com. You can send an inquiry from today's podcast. Let us know where you came from. We'll provide an additional 10% off for anybody who orders.
Oh, that's nice.
You better believe it. Who would like to have a wholesale account. So only for your group.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Second question, when's your book coming out?
I know, man. Dr. Brendan Crater already hit me up with that. So we've got a couple of things we've talked about. So one of my books, and nobody steal this, is Shoot the Ostrich. That's the name of the book. Shoot the Ostrich. So I remember coming home one day, and my dad had started an ostrich farm. This was back years ago when it was a big business, and my dad had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit in him, and we struggled financially growing up. There was a lot of problems, so my dad took this risk. About the time he got in, the whole business, the whole market just went away. So now my dad's got these 12 to 15 birds that he's feeding. So he comes home from work, he goes to his gun cabinet, grabs a shotgun, walks out into the pasture, and I'm freaking out. My dad's never come home from work at 5 o'clock and went into the shotgun. So I watched him walk out and blow about 15 birds' heads off, drag them out to the back of the pasture. And I ran out there, I was like, Dad, what are you doing? He goes, son, sometimes you got to shoot the ostrich. So I've launched and started so many different businesses and messed them all up and succeeded at so many. But I can lean on that advice that sometimes you have to shoot the ostrich. And I have had to shoot that ostrich multiple times. So it'll be about business, life, and being happy and healthy. But it's all going to have, I'm trying to look for a catchy title.
I promise you nobody's going to take that title, because even if they did, they couldn't make up a story like that.
I know, right? So there's no cancer book coming out too. I've got several things in the pipeline. So, but yeah, I need to do that. It's on my heart to do it. So there's a lot of fun stuff going down the pipeline. And on top of that too, Dr. Brad, I know if any doctors have any interest in maybe bringing in another service to their clinic with weight loss, I am launching in January a white labeled version of the Happy Healthy Thin system. So if there's any questions about that, tell them to follow up with me. You've got my email address, and we're looking to take on maybe 3 to 5 for Q1. There's still time. So another service, and we're driving. What I was thinking we could do is maybe by doing this, we can move more people into some functional medicine systems, or they could get really help that normally they wouldn't walk into an office maybe. Right. And now we can love them where they're at, help them lose weight, help them feeling better, and then move them into some ongoing support. So just want to throw that out there.
Okay.
We talked about that.
How about we do this? How about the first quarter of next year, you come back on the podcast.
Okay.
We'll see how you're doing on your book, and we'll talk about your launch of the white label program.
I hear it. That sounds like a good plan. I love it.
All right. Well, Doc, I very much appreciate your time today. I thank you for the energy and for the passion that not just searching out healthcare for yourself, but for every single person that you're going to end up serving, whether it be directly or indirectly. So I appreciate that. That's pretty awesome, man.
Hey, I appreciate you. And I want to give a big shout out to everybody listening right now, and you specifically, Dr. Brad. You guys, I'm so impressed with how you guys really figured out that you don't have to live or die by the chiropractic cross. The man, really people they don't need chiropractic care from birth to death. They need no interference. And if you're not looking at each patient in a well-rounded approach and creating other strategies in your business, nobody's asking you to bend over patients and die broke 40 years later. So I think what you're doing, a lot of your doctors are doing with the way you're helping patients, I take my hat off because I think it's super cool. And you guys, once again, are a lot smarter than me, because it took me almost dying before I could figure out what was that next step and how was I going to impact more people than just in one clinical setting or only with chiropractic care, which we know can be powerful. But if I'm eating right, taking good supplements, and doing 50-minute infrared sauna sessions every day, maybe my patient should know about that.
Right. There's probably some truth in there, Doctor. Wow. Yeah. So thank you so much. You've been listening to Dr. Randy Johns on Nutrition Hero Podcast. Thank you, Doctor. First quarter, we're going to see you next year, okay?
Let's be back. Love you guys. Thanks a lot today.
All right. Thanks, Doc.